is your boy, SportsRap D, and welcome back to the second half of today's installment of the SportsRap podcast, right here on Heat 100 Radio, heat100radio.com. You can also get us on the TuneIn app. If you can't go visually with me while I'm live on Facebook, get to the Facebook group. In the group description, there is an RDO link where you can tune in and just get the audio. If you have Instagram, in the profile, there is also the RDO link where you can listen and tune in to everything sports rap every Monday. So we're back, and again, I wanted to, Nate, my guy, thanks for tuning in, good brother. I wanted to talk a little bit about this story that I saw. And again, the reason that I'm bringing this story is, of course, as most of you know, if not all of you, my partners are 49ers fans. So I'm actually outnumbered here as far as on the football side. Baldy is a Sixers fan, so I got some help there. And Frank is just a 49ers and Lakers fan, so, it's always tough. But going back, if you don't know the baseline or the backdrop of this story, going back, and Baldy can attest to it because Baldy was here one time. We talked about it. Actually, the three of us were here. And myself and Baldy were always trying to get Frank to see a little bit more realistically on things that are going on with the team. And, of course, everybody, thanks for tuning in again, everybody. We're talking some 49ers right now. And everybody going in that has a favorite team, their favorite team, of course, you should have championship aspirations at the beginning of every season. I have no issues, no questions about that. That's where you should be, of course. Definitely that is where you should be. So we always talk about the 49ers, and we always talk about the Eagles. And, people always say, oh, the Eagles will go 3-0 in the preseason or whatever, and then they're Super Bowl bound, or they'll go 1-0 and then they suck. Well, the thing with that is, people, if you don't understand, Eagles fans or Philadelphia sports fans, is we are very, very passionate. We will ride with our teams when they're winning, and we will definitely kick them when they're down. It's just the nature of being a Philly sports fan. You're brought up in it. It's around you all the time. And, you do have some stragglers that live in the city that are fans of other teams. And that's perfectly okay. It happens. But the ones that are true Philadelphia fans are extremely passionate. A lot of them are knowledgeable about their respective sports. Not all of them, but there are some, okay, that are knowledgeable. But the passion definitely is there. No matter what, whether they're knowledgeable or not, the passion is definitely there. But getting back to the story at hand, we talked a while back when the 49ers ended up signing Jimmy G. And, I said some things about to Frank about, are you sure that was the guy for you to get you there? Whatever. Things of that nature, Frank was initially sold, and I think we turned him a little bit throughout the couple of seasons there. Although they did get to the Super Bowl with Jimmy G. I got that. But a lot of things in the way that I look at football and look at sporting events a little bit differently now. Some of the things I mentioned to him was, because Jimmy G got to the Super Bowl, hey, Mark Macon, thanks for tuning in, good brother. I truly, truly appreciate it. I was letting him know that, from my standpoint and from what I had seen and what I was watching, that Jimmy G was put in a position, a very good position by his coach to get you there, where he didn't have to do an extended amount, where a lot of times he didn't have to win games, but the system and things were put in place to make things, easy for him to succeed. And he did. Like I said, I'm not knocking. Like I said, I'm still not 100% sold that Jimmy G is a guy that with his arm will carry you that far. But again, I say he did his job, yes. So I'm not going to knock him for that. Like I said, I'm going to give credit where credit is due, as I always do. He did get there. He did do his job. But I also mentioned that the coach paved the way for him to be successful, which I have no issues with, which I think is something that's supposed to happen. I think your coach is supposed to put their players in the best position to succeed. I've always thought that. Even when I was a coach, I felt like I need to put my players in the best position or the best situations to succeed. And no questions in my mind, Kyle Shanahan did that for Jimmy G. As the result, we saw it, they got to the Super Bowl. So after the Super Bowl, things, for some odd reason, began to go a different way. You can argue and say that some reality set in as far as who Jimmy G truly was as a quarterback, and where his status was as far as a quarterback in the NFL. And they wanted to think about moving on. So they draft Trey Lance, very high draft pick. He played a little bit last year to see where he was, to get him a taste of everything. And then they were thinking of going with him for the start of this season. And I think they still are as of right now. And mind you, Jimmy G is still on that roster as of yet. He hasn't been traded. Again, I reported a couple weeks ago that he was given permission. Him and his camp was given permission to seek a trade. Apparently nothing has happened. So he is still currently on the 49ers roster. And I think the hitch or the glitch in that was the situation with Baker Mayfield going and signing down there in Carolina. And I think that kind of put a little stall on some things for Jimmy G. So the 49ers drafted Trey Lance. And you know, we can argue that he had a pretty good preseason. In a 17-zip loss to the Houston Texans, he went 7 for 11 for 49 yards. But more importantly, he didn't look comfortable. He missed a couple open passes. He was failing to lead a single scoring drive. So the general consensus is that he hasn't been terrible, but as of yet, he still hasn't solidly shown you that he should be the guy moving forward. What has he done? So for the entire preseason, he went 11 for 16, 141 yards, 1 touchdown, and no interceptions. In reality, if you looked at it as something in the regular season, that would have presented him with a passer rating of 116.9. And again, with that kind of rating, that should cause which should be cause for excitement, but it's why we judge performance off games and not box scores. So again, there's always the game within the game, okay? He hasn't made one impactful play except for a 76-yard touchdown to Danny Gray in the first preseason game, which ultimately amounts to 54% of your passing yards that came on one single play, and the rest of the reps have been unremarkable, and it's a bit of a worry. So basically, there is a bit of concern here. They are still uncertain now with the way he has performed, if he's still the guy to go to. Then they talk about the status of Jimmy G, and it says that they were destined to kept as a fallback play for Trey Lance. As it stands, he's still on that roster and looks to make the 53-man roster. So now, is it time to pull the ripcord and rename Jimmy G the starter? Or do you stick with Trey Lance? Robert Reeves, thanks for tuning in. So that right now really is the biggest question for the 49ers. Is like, do we scrap these plans on Trey Lance and bring back Jimmy G? And how do you go about that situation where apparently in the last several months or so, continuing back to the end of last season, all signs were pointing to you arguably moving on from Jimmy G, moving into the Trey Lance era. And now this Trey Lance era is not what you expected. And you're you're into crunch time now. Like, 53-man roster has to be set by tomorrow. In another week and a half, you start the football season, the real football season. So the second question is, if you decide to definitely go with Jimmy G, or with Trey Lance, you start out, let's say you stick with it because that's where your projections are. You started out and maybe you get to week 4, 5. It's not going as you expected. At that point, when or beyond that, when do you make the decision, or do you put a time frame on it going in and say, if he's not where we think he should be by this week, then we're going to go back to Jimmy G? Or are we going to just say, look, we're going to get this dude a shot in first game, and if it don't happen, then we're just going to put Jimmy in? Like, how do you work that out? How is that going to work out for them? So those are, I think, like the biggest questions for the 49ers. And again, with the defense, with the weapons they have on offense, high expectations going into the season. Definitely high expectations. And it could all get shaken up on a decision that was made an off season ago or 2 off seasons ago. That could now either continue the road the franchise is on, or it could somewhat derail the franchise and cause a shakeup there at some level. So we'll definitely stay in tune with this story throughout the season and see how it plays out. And like I said, especially in the early part of the season, we'll see how it goes and see if they come up with something, or if they decide very early, which to me would be a surprise if they do it before week 1, switch back to Jimmy G. It would be a total surprise to me if they did, because I don't think that it would look very well for them as far as an organization, as making this jump or making this switch and then getting through preseason and looking at training camp and then realizing like, oh crap, we made a mistake. We got to fix this or try to get ahead of this before it gets somewhere where we don't want it to get. So we'll definitely see how that plays out. So as far as football, football is coming up November I'm looking at the schedule right there. September, so I'm saying November. I'm pushing it along. September the 8th. Next, not this coming Thursday, but next Thursday is the kickoff of the 2022-2023 season, which is a Thursday night football. So I'm going to go through this first week schedule today because, as you know, it would have been next week, and next week is Labor Day. Next Monday is also the day after the fish fry, and you still got some time to get some tickets for that. I got a few stragglers laying around, but like I said in my post yesterday, I'm only taking serious inquiries only. If you want a ticket, you either have to be able to cash at me on the spot or give me cash on the spot for any tickets. If not, tickets will be $20 at the door. In advance, they are $15. So you need to get with me between today and I'm going to say Wednesday at the latest. If you definitely serious, like I said, if you call me on Thursday and you say I got cash money or I'm going to cash at you right now, I may be able to push to Thursday, but I'm really trying to get Wednesday as the end of the day. But I might have a little bit of wiggle room for Thursday. All right. So also, before I get to my week 1 picks, got to give a shout out to the Del East, Lady B, Simply Monica, Platinum Productions. Last night, Lady B basement party. Definitely not disappointed. I enjoyed myself while I was there. It took me back to some classic hip hop that I grew up on, hip hop that has paved the way for a lot of artists right now. So shout out to Nice and Smooth, Big Daddy Kane, KRS-One, Uncle Luke, the alumni, which consists of Moni Love, Nice and Smooth, like I mentioned, Chubb Rock, Kwame, and Philly's own DJ Tat Money. Also, Slick Rick in the building. Kid and Play in the building. So, great show. It comes every year at the Del East. If you didn't get in this year, I will have some clips up. I'll post some clips up later on so you can tune in and check out what you missed last night. And if you were there, I know you enjoyed yourself because I was there and I witnessed the crowd, so I enjoyed myself as well as everybody there. So just wanted to give that quick shout out for that. So moving on into this first week, again, Thursday, September the 8th. Now, folks, I am picking an upset in this game. It's the ring ceremony, probably more than likely for the LA Rams for winning the Super Bowl. They are at home, but they got the Buffalo Bills coming in. Out of conference game. You saw the way Buffalo played late in that season, last season. I'm going with the upset there. I'm going to take Buffalo on the road in that game. Moving into Sunday's games, let's see. New Orleans at Atlanta. I like New Orleans on the road there as well. San Francisco at Chicago. Again, two teams that are having some questions about their quarterback position. But with everything else that the 49ers have, I'm going to take the 49ers on the road there as well. Pittsburgh at Cincinnati. I'm going with the Bengals at home. New England at Miami. Believe it or not, and it's not because they whooped on the Eagles Saturday. I like the young kid in New England, but I'm going to go with Miami at home there. The Ravens are at the Jets. I'm going with the Ravens on the road. Jacksonville at Washington. Surprisingly, I think Washington just has a little bit more talent. I'm going to go with Washington at home. Cleveland at Carolina. This is, I think, going to be a big game, a very emotional game. As you know, the Cleveland Browns are going into Carolina. Their former quarterback, Baker Mayfield, has now been named the starter in Carolina. I'm going to go with Carolina at home. As so also with Baker Mayfield there, like I said, it will be an emotional game, I'm sure, for him. He will definitely, in my opinion, have something to prove. And then you bring back into the fray Christian McCaffrey. Although the Browns do have a very, very solid running game, not too sure about that quarterback position there with Deshaun Watson not being able to play early. So, again, I like Carolina at home in that game. Indianapolis at Houston. I'm going with the Colts on the road. The Eagles are in the D to play the Detroit Lions. I'm going with the Eagles there. The Giants are in Tennessee to take on the Titans. I'm taking the Titans at home. Green Bay at Minnesota. I like the Packers there. I like the Chiefs on the road over the Cardinals. I like the Chargers at home over the Raiders. And I like the Bucks over the Cowboys in Dallas on that Sunday. And Monday, first Monday night game, Monday, September the 12th, which we will be back in studio. Denver at Seattle. I think will be in another emotional game. As you know, Russell Wilson is no longer in Seattle. He's now in Detroit. I like Denver in that game. And those you have, folks, are my picks for week 1 of the NFL season coming up. And I will definitely get a picture up and post those. I'm going to also post that schedule later on in the week, before you know how I do. I do it on Tuesday or Wednesday. I post that schedule up. And folks, you got until whenever I tell you to get your picks in. We'll probably get back to what we do. We'll probably have some prizes or something for some winners week to week. And maybe have something for the overall winner at the end of the season, whoever comes up with the most weekly wins. So definitely look out for that as well. So moving along, we also... Just talking real quickly, if you haven't heard the news, Kevin Durant has somewhat, if you will, reneged on his trade demand, and he decided that he will remain in Brooklyn after having a talk with Sean Marks and Joseph Tsai and some other brass at the Brooklyn Nets. And what they said is Sean Marks, in a statement, he said, and I quote, "We have agreed to move forward with our partnership. We are focusing on basketball with one collective goal in mind, build a lasting franchise to bring a championship to Brooklyn." I don't know, maybe Durant realized that the Nets were, I guess, playing hardball, doing whatever they could to somewhat or allegedly stall this move, for their asking price was so high, and they knew I think they knew deep down inside that they probably wouldn't get everything that they were asking for. And again, like I mentioned to you people before, the bottom line was didn't a trade didn't have to happen because he was under contract. He just recently signed a 4-year extension, so he was under contract. So they didn't have to trade him unless they came up with something that was beneficial to them, or that made the team better, or that was beneficial for the overall organization. So we talk NBA. We still look at the Sixers roster, and we've seen all the talk where the players have been ranked allegedly. I'm not going to go into that as far as the rankings of individual players and stuff like that right now. There are some issues with the Sixers where the biggest question now is who will be the backup center. One of the things I mentioned about the two players that are on roster that could arguably be that backup center, Paul Reed, who I actually believe is a more of a stretch four because of his size and his style of play. I think Bassie, and maybe a couple years down the road, could become that backup center. I just don't think the experience is there yet for where the Sixers are as far as where the level of competition that they want right now. So you think about that and you feel like they need to bring in a backup center. There were some names floated around. I saw DeMarcus Cousins the other day. I'm going to get to a name that intrigues me in just a minute. But the Sixers are kind of still somewhat strapped as far as what they can do as far as salary cap, because they're like right at that line with the luxury tax. They would definitely have to move some players. In the essence, there's some of those names that have popped up, which has been consistent all offseason long, and Matisse Thybulle. You can also throw George Niang's name in there, Furkan Korkmaz, with $3 million and $5 million contracts respectively, and Matisse Thybulle is at about the $4 million mark. So that could help them. Also, other ways that they could do that would be with some other guys. Trevelin Queen could be an option. Isaiah Joe to keep them around where they don't hit that mark, where they don't want to hit as far as a luxury tax. Jackie Bridges, thanks for tuning in. Jaden Springer, Shake Milton. So there are some names that can be had, that can be jostled around arguably to facilitate some things. But I think they would need, to look at that backup center position. I think they did okay with bringing in Daniel House and DeAnthony Melton and PJ Tucker for as far as their perimeter guys with some help there. We still got to play the games and see how this plays out, but I think they made some improvements there with those pickups. Some other names that have been talked about in possible trades, and some of the things are like, I saw Jay Crowder the other day, and it could be a possibility because of the upcoming of Cam Johnson, how he plays, and maybe he could be ready to step into that Jay Crowder role in that starting position. The Mavericks could offer Reggie Bullock for the Thybulle Korkmaz combination, but the Sixers are seemingly not ready to move on from Thybulle as of yet, unless the absolute right deal comes along. The Clippers probably would not be willing to give up Robert Covington for what the Sixers have right now. The Orlando Magic does have two players that could work out in this deal if they made the trade, were Terrence Ross and Gary Harris. Terrence Ross could go with the Korkmaz and Thybulle deal, but for Gary Harris, they would have to add another piece because of the extension that he signed most recently. The Knicks really are looking like they're trying to get in on this Donovan Mitchell deal, so they could be off the table with anybody there. There was also some talk about maybe Nerlens Noel coming back. The Hornets, they say appear to be taking a step back. We know the ongoing legal issues with Miles Bridges, Kelly Oubre. If they can't get Miles Bridges in a uniform early this season, it could be tough for them. That's a big piece, a huge loss it would be for them. The Detroit Pistons have found something that they feel like they want to work with, and Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, and then drafting Jalen Duren. So they've come into what they have. They also have Sadiq Bey there and Marvin Bagley III. So they've got some young core that they feel like they can work around and mold and eventually bring some pieces in there. But at some point, they would have to, I think, get a veteran or two in there to help mold some of this young core. The Spurs have moved on from DeJounte Murray, like things like that. Doug McDermott. So Josh Richardson, don't want to see him come back. The Rockets with Eric Gordon and his salary could be an issue. So there are some things that the Sixers might be able to do, but it's going to be it's going to have to be very, very well thought out and very methodical. But again, I feel like where they are right now, they need to try and work on having that backup center. The one name that I felt like could be a fit would be Hassan Whiteside, who's still a free agent currently. I think right now would be the one of the issues would be moving some players and having some type of salary to present to him, and would he be willing to take what the Sixers have to offer and take on that role. And ironically or theoretically, the role for him would not be that big. There arguably would not be any plays designed for him. He would definitely be the backup to Joel, where he would be wanted to come in and rebound, play D, protect the rim, and be solid and give Joel some rest. And then, if need be, could be a starter in spot moments when Joel Embiid or like maybe back to back. So when there's some fatigue, or if something happens and he has to sit out a game, you could have a solid starter in Hassan Whiteside. So I think out of the names that I saw, like I mentioned, there was other ones where, again, Nerlens Noel, I saw DeMarcus Cousins, and I forget who the other name was. But like I said, when I saw Hassan Whiteside was the name that I felt like intrigued me the most in that situation. So there still are some things that the Sixers can do to improve this roster. But again, like I said, I would like to see them focus on possibly bringing in a backup center. I mean, for all intent purposes, you could, in my opinion, you could keep Isaiah Joe for one more year because it won't hurt you as much. I think with the deals with Trevelyan Queen, I think you could give him a shot and maybe end up sending him down to the G League. You could revisit trade talks for Furkan Korkmaz because you already know what you get out of Korkmaz. I think Niang will stay around because he gives you effort. Although he did have a falling off in the playoffs, but during the season, you see what you also see what you get from him, and you definitely know you'll get the effort from him. We know he's a little slow on the defensive end and other things like that, but we know what we'll get. He'll give us the effort, and he won't be one just to more so settle on that 3-point shot. He has shown that he will attempt to put the ball on the floor and try and get to the cup. Unlike Furkan, who tends to rely more on the 3-point shot. And earlier in the season last year, I thought from what I saw, what he showed us, I thought that he had improved and worked on some things and built up that confidence. And then later on in the season, he kind of drifted back, which in reality actually put him back on the bench when he, went back to more settling for 3-point shots instead of keeping up the play with the aggression on offense. So, that could arguably, if you were to move Korkmaz, that could arguably free up maybe about somewhere between $4 or $5 million on your cap, and you could bring in a guy like Whiteside. But again, like I said, Hassan Whiteside seems intriguing to me on the outside looking in. And like I said, I think he could arguably be the best option because everything that he has done throughout his career is pretty much exactly what you would need right now in your backup center moving forward and moving forward and where the Sixers are right now as far as the state of where they are as wanting to win. So we'll definitely see what goes on and what happens with that, folks. basketball season is coming, and I know, like I said, we are very close to the football season in a week and a half, if you will. And we'll definitely be heavy on football during the season. But there's always some basketball talk. There's always some Philly sports talk going around. Listen, folks, this is a great day, Monday. You saw my post again. I woke up in a fairly good mood today, carrying that all day, and my peace will not be broken. So again, I urge you all, get out and enjoy some of this some of this sunshine today. It's going to be pretty warm today. I think it's going to go to like 91, 92. So just be careful out there. Check on your elderly if you need to. Stay hydrated. It's Monday. Get the week started. We are pushing into September. September the 1st is this week. So we are pushing into September. The year is going by. Folks, enjoy your Monday. Be great on purpose. Remember, you can catch me each and every Monday right here, except for next Monday, a holiday. We will return on September the 12th. On that day, we will also have an interview, and we'll talk to you about some fights going down September 17th. But stay tuned. I'll post it, and you just stay tuned. We'll talk about that when the time comes. Instagram and Twitter at SportsRap_D. Right here on Facebook, the group page, SportsRap Podcast. The webpage, SportsRapRadio.com. YouTube channel, SportsRap TV. And again, folks, I urge you, and I urge you every week, get over there. There are plenty of videos over there. You can check out some new stuff, some old stuff. Some classic videos are up there. Make sure you subscribe to that channel. Hit that alert button, and hit the thumbs up on the videos that you like. Folks, I will see you Sunday at LB's Lounge, 5th and Tabor Road, Heat 100 Radio, fish or chicken fry. Birthday celebration for Heat 100's own Rock the Barber. Anniversary party for Heat 100 Radio as well. There will also be an artist showcase. So if you don't know how we do here at Heat 100 Radio, I'm out of the station that keeps it 100. We're going to show up, we're going to show out, and you need to be in there with us. Again, I have a few more tickets that are out. Again, serious inquiries only, meaning you must be able to cash at me on the spot or have cash in hand on the spot to get any more tickets. If not, they are $15. If you can't do that, they will be a $20 charge at the door. 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. this Sunday. Make sure you're out there with us. And folks, again, be great on purpose. It's your boy SportsRap D signing off. I will definitely see you guys Sunday. And after Sunday, I'll see y'all Thursday at the Drake Tavern. Peace. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. What it do? It is your boy right here, SportsRap D, on Heat 100 Radio, and welcome once again to another installment of the SportsRap Podcast right here live on Facebook. SportsRap Podcast is the group page. You know that already. And thanks to everybody that's already tuned in. Thomas Charles Brady, thanks for tuning in. Haven't talked to you in a while. Hope things are all well with you. So you know what we do here. Like, listen, I don't need to keep telling y'all every week. So we're going to get right into what we do. I got some news and some updates for you guys. Then I'm going to give you some scores like I always do from yesterday's games. And see, we had some preseason football games yesterday. We had some WNBA semifinals, and we had some Major League Baseball. So I'll get to that in just a few minutes. So here we go. Bills punter Matt Araiza has been released amid a rape lawsuit. So if you haven't been following and you haven't been paying attention, Matt Araiza Areza. I'm sorry, I am definitely screwing up that last name, but nonetheless, it has come out that while he was in college, he was allegedly involved in a gang rape of a young lady. That news has just recently come out, and amid that story, he has been released by the Buffalo Bills. The 1952 Mickey Mantle card sells in an auction for a record, for shattering a record, so it's a new record for 12.6 million. It's a lot for a baseball card, but I guess people are figuring that, oh, it's Mickey Mantle, so we'll do it. Boston Celtics forward Danilo Gallinari tears his meniscus playing for Italy. So we know about meniscus tears here in the city of Philadelphia, and I don't know how severe his was. Haven't gotten any updates on that yet, and of course they're going to keep that on a low profile, but that was a huge free agent signing for them, who may not be with them for a good portion of the year, depending on the severity of that injury. So I'm sure we'll get more on that as days go by and training camp approaches. Sources are that Cam Smith, Harold Varner III, and several other PGA Tour players are expected to now jump ship and join the LIV golf scene. Venus and Serena Williams will play in the doubles competition at the U.S. Open. Panthers quarterback Sam Darnold, or backup quarterback Sam Darnold, is expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks with an ankle injury. NFL senior advisor on Deshaun Watson, quote, "I feel like he's playing us," end quote. So, Hez Green, thanks for tuning in, good brother. So with him saying that, again, this is some of the things, well, let's just reiterate some of the things that I said before the suspension was appealed. When it was the first handed down with the 6 games, I was asked that I think that was enough and all this other kind of stuff. And, I really didn't give an answer. I said I wanted to stay away from it for a good reason. And I gave you all those reasons, so you can backtrack and check videos and see. But if you must hear it again, I said that with that 6 games, the NFL, what I said was, when they later came up and announced that they would appeal, what I felt was that the NFL needed to save face and that they were not comfortable with that. They felt like it should have been more. After they got pressure, chatter, little whispers around about the comparisons of Deshaun Watson's suspension and the suspension of Calvin Ridley and some other suspensions. So they upped it, and in the middle of that, before that second final decision was handed down, Deshaun Watson and his camp put out that he would happily take 8 games. So it feels like he kind of got what he wanted. So that's kind of how they feel with him saying, I believe, with him making that statement. WNBA stars reported to head overseas despite Griner's arrest in Russia. So this is the thing. We talked about this at length several times. And what I keep telling you people is the fact that these WNBA players still need to go overseas and play to make more money, to compensate for when they're not in season. As we know, the promotion, the TV time, and all of that kind of stuff, it's a big thing with the WNBA. As far, it even stretches down to travel issues like we talked about a couple weeks ago. But these women have to go overseas because their contracts are not, to me, up to par as of yet. There needs to be a lot of talk about that. There needs to be a lot of improvement on that. I think with their most recent collective bargaining agreement, they did get somewhat of a raise, but it wasn't really significant. And I think it needs to be looked at more, looked at more, and see how it can increase. Because even with the Brittany Griner situation, you see that some of these women are still going to go back overseas. They may not go to Russia, but they're still going to go to countries overseas to continue playing, to recoup or get, to continue earning a living while they're not actually playing for the WNBA. NFL teams are set to get their rosters down to 53 by tomorrow. The Mets retire Willie Mays' number 24 in a surprise ceremony at Old Timers Day. Rory McIlroy rallies to win his 3rd FedEx Cup title and an $18 million purse. Major League Baseball Players Association has taken a step to unionize minor league players. T.J. Watt of the Pittsburgh Steelers left the game yesterday with a knee injury. Don't know the severity of that injury as of yet. Hawaii wins the Little League World Series over Curacao. That is your news and your updates, folks, for today, August the 29th, 2022. Look, folks, we are already in August. It is 8 months into 2022. We got 4 months left. I mean, and as a matter of fact, little less than that, because September is this week. So we're moving right along, pushing right along through this year. It is going by rather quickly. Scores for you guys in Major League Baseball yesterday. The Dodgers get up on the Marlins 8-1. The Rays whoop on the Red Sox 12-4. The Nationals defeat the Reds 3-2. Pirates get by the Pirates blank the Phillies 5-0. The Angels take the Blue Jays 8-3. The Rockies shut out the Mets 1-0. The Diamondbacks beat the White Sox 3-2. The Royals beat up on the Padres 15-7. The Astros get by the Orioles 3-1. The Cubs fall to the Brewers 9-7. The Twins get by the Giants 8-3. In a close one, the Detroit Tigers take the game from the Texas Rangers 9-8. The Oakland A's defeat the Yankees 4-1. The Guardians get blanked by the Mariners 4-0. And the Cardinals defeat the Braves 6-3. In NFL preseason football yesterday, the Giants fall to the Jets 31-27, and the Steelers get by the Lions 19-9. In WNBA semifinals, the Storm 76, Aces 73. The Storm take a 1-0 lead in that series, and the Sun get by the Sky 68-63 in a game that got a little chippy in some moments. 68-63 was that score, and the Sun have a 1-0 lead on that second semifinal series. So there you have it, folks. There is your news, your scores, and your updates for Monday, August 29th, 2022. So, folks, we are going to talk some football, if you will, if you let me real quick. I've got one story I'm going to talk about. I'm going to go through that. And that is on the 53-man roster. Like I mentioned to you in the updates, the NFL teams have to get their rosters down to 53 members for their 53-man active roster by tomorrow. I think it'll probably be like around 4 p.m. tomorrow. So let's stay there for a second and let's talk a little bit and let's go through these things. One of the things I found was, the predictions for the Philadelphia Eagles and the players making or who are projected to make this 53-man roster. And it's a little bit interesting. I'm going to talk about, I went through it, so I made some notes, some markings and stuff like that, like I always do. So I do have a couple that I'm going to discuss a little bit that I think may come in a little handy with what I'm doing, and may come in a little with a little bit of discussion. So on the offensive side of the ball, let me readjust here. Make sure you guys can hear me. I'm sure if anybody's chimed in, that they will definitely let me know if I am not being heard clearly. So I'm going to adjust a little bit. Hopefully this works. So on the offensive side of the ball for the Eagles, the quarterbacks. Right now, it looks like they're going to keep two. The third quarterback will probably go to the practice squad if they keep a third quarterback. So the two quarterbacks, you have your incumbent starter in Jalen Hurts, and the number 2 guy will be Gardner Minshew. I'm okay with this. Like I mentioned to a lot of people, I feel like this is the year that Jalen Hurts shows us or doesn't show us. You could also call it possibly his make or break year as well. And, he's had some bumps along the road during training camp. We haven't seen a lot of them in live action during preseason games, which is actually kind of good because reports are from the last preseason game that everybody's intact. Everybody should be ready to go for game one. As far as full-fledged starters, the number ones should all be ready to go. So we saved ourselves there. Also, on the backup note, Gardner Minshew was a starter in this league, albeit it was for the Jaguars, and you can very easily say he was a quarterback, solid quarterback on a bad team, or starting quarterback on a bad team, however you want to put it. But he does have that NFL experience, and he did show some things last year in a few games, in a few moments where he gave us the impression that he could sustain the tide if anything happened to Jalen Hurts, God forbid, but if anything were to happen where he had to maybe sit out a game or miss a game, we could go in with a little note of confidence with Gardner Minshew under center. So out on the quarterback slate are Reed Stinnett and Carson Strong. So, what they'll probably do is they'll probably bring one of these guys back and leave them on the practice squad so that they'll have a quarterback on the practice squad. He would be the third string quarterback. And then they also may look to add another quarterback once rosters get cut down. They can make some moves and release some people and sign some people, pick some people up off waivers and things of that nature. So they may pick up somebody on the waiver wire or something like that once the teams get knocked down. At the running back position, you've got our number 1, 2, and 3 running backs, possibly keeping 5. So the 3 front runners, Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, and Kenneth Gainwell. Those are pretty much your 3 incumbents. You also have guys that are out, Jason Huntley, Kennedy Brooks. I'm sure we'll get to it at the end of this projection breakdown, but I believe Jason Huntley will end up on the practice squad. I liked some things I saw from him during the preseason. He was there. He was around last season, so he pretty much knows the offense, so you could plug him in if need be. I just hope that he gets on the practice squad. And again, we've been struggling all preseason with reports of, I guess you could call them nagging injuries with Miles Sanders, with the hamstring and things of that nature. So there may be a chance for Jason Huntley to move up off the practice squad at some point during the season. But nonetheless, he's out right now. And again, I would guess that he would be a running back that made the practice squad. In the wide receiver core, of course, you got our new number 1, A.J. Brown, and moves Devontae Smith to the number 2, which is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing because you have a proven vet on one side, which normally should be your number 1. Mel, thanks for tuning in. Good homie. Thanks for tuning in, as always. Then you have Devontae Smith, a budding star, at your number 2. So you make it a serious chess game for offenses. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Mel wants to join in, so I'm going to try and add him in so you folks can see him if he gets in. A.J. Brown, like I said, your number 1, a proven vet. Devontae Smith, a budding and upcoming star. Then you got another one who's upcoming, who is upcoming, Quez Watkins, another veteran, Zach Pascal, and Jalen Reagor. Now here's where I get into a little bit of my first, somewhat disagreement with the roster selection. But then again, I'm only me, and I'm only giving you what I give you here. So in my opinion, from what I saw during the preseason, I would arguably go with Deion Kane instead of Jalen Reagor. And although Jalen Reagor, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4 would be 5. Then, Jalen Reagor could give you pull Deion Kane up, Jalen Reagor could give you 6 receivers, but they still use Jalen Reagor in the return game on kickoffs and things of that nature. I think you could use Kenneth Gainwell in that position as well. I think you could also put maybe Quez Watkins back there with his speed. It's just the chatter and the uncertainty of Jalen Hurts I don't know what's going on with that connection, so we'll definitely try that again a little bit later, maybe. So yeah, I was hoping that Deion Kane would make the initial core of receivers. Apparently, that has not happened, and he is on the right now outside looking in. Another player that I suspect to be on the practice squad, also on the practice squad, I expect Greg Ward to be on that practice squad. People could also make an argument for John Hightower, but don't really know what's going on with John Hightower. Why he's fallen looks like he's regressed, or looks like he's taken several steps back, and I don't understand how that happened. I understand what they did. They brought in Zach Pascal and some other veterans and things of that nature. But here's the thing: like, you've been here, dude. So I don't understand why you haven't adjusted, why you haven't picked your game up. At one point, a couple years back, and this is, I think, what made him stick around as long as he has, even though he's probably going to end up on the practice squad again. Greg Ward, when he was brought up by Doug Peterson for that 1 year, he was like the best receiver for a short period of time, or for an extended period of time on the Eagles roster, and he was like an undrafted free agent coming up from the practice squad. So that's like, he kind of like made a name for himself, and he stuck around a little bit. So he's still around, and he are definitely be on the practice squad. At the tight end position, Dallas Goedert, Jake Stoll, and Grant Calcaterra, the new rookie pick. On the outs, Noah Togiai and Richard Rodgers. I think Richard Rodgers will end up being on the practice squad. He is a solid veteran. He did help us out a little bit, last year when we went with the double tight end set with him and Dallas Goedert. So look for him to stick around and end up on that practice squad. Moving to the offensive line, Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson on that left side, Jason Kelsey in the middle, Isaac Seumalo, Lane Johnson, and Andre Dillard, Sua Opeta, Cam Jurgens, Jack Anderson, and Jake Driscoll. Those are your 10. So you got two sets of offensive linemen. There also has still been some frequent chatter about possibly trades for Andre Dillard, but nothing has happened yet. So it looks like he will arguably make this 10-man rotation on the offensive line for the Philadelphia Eagles this upcoming season. Guys that are out are guys that really were probably not significant. They probably were unsigned free agents, camp invites, but the Eagles are solid up there in that offensive line room with the 10. Like I said, they're solid there. The most questions would arguably right now come from Cam Jurgens, because he's a rookie, but he showed you some things in the preseason, and then maybe just because of the trade talk and everything, and a little bit of past injury history with Andre Dillard. But other than that, you've got a pretty solid offensive line room right there, offensive line core, rather. Moving along to the other side of the ball on the defense, at the defensive end spots, got Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat, Derek Barnett, and Teron Jackson. Teron Jackson has made some impressions, so I can see why his name has been added up into here. I'm still a little shaky on Derek Barnett because he always seems to get those stupid penalties when we don't need them. So I'm a little questioning about that there, but arguably, he fits the rotation. He knows the system. Not too bad. If they can just get him to learn to pull up on some of those pressures and not take that penalty, I think he could be okay. The defensive tackles are, again, solid. Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave, Jordan Davis, the rookie, who has drawn nothing but praise from all the media and the coaching staff here. He is a behemoth of a man and a monster on the field. Then you have Milton Williams and Marlon Tuipulotu. Okay, so defensive tackles are pretty solid. if you will. I'm liking, like I said, Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave, the veterans. And then you plug Jordan Davis in there, the nasty rookie, who's picking up a lot from Hargrave and Fletcher Cox. I think the defensive line will be solid. On the outs there, Marvin Wilson, Kobe Smith, and Rennell Wren. At the Sam linebacker, Hassan Reddick, Patrick Johnson, and Kyron Johnson. 3 there. I don't know how they put this together, but if I was doing this in my depth chart, and I'm not saying that this is the exact depth chart that they'll have, I would actually go with Hassan Reddick, Kyron Johnson, and then Patrick Johnson, from what I've seen during training camp and in preseason. Other linebackers, TJ Edwards, who I've seen improvements from last season working into this season. Kazir White, the free agent pickup from the Chargers. The standout rookie, Nakobe Dean, who has a chip on his shoulder and has something to prove to some people. Sean Bradley, pretty solid, up and coming, learning some things. And Davion Taylor, who is pretty decent there too. On the outs there at that linebacker, Jacoby Stevens and Christian Ellis. Moving into the cornerback, into that secondary, the Eagles again, for the first time, I would say in a good long time, have 2 solid number 1 corners in Darius Slay and James Bradbury. The ever-growing Avonte Maddox at the nickel corner, and then Zach McPherson and Josh Jobe, 2 guys that I think have made some improvements, especially Zach McPherson, who was a fairly high pick a couple years ago and has stuck around and worked his way into the rotation, possibly, and could be moving up to see some time this year. Out at the cornerback are Kerry Vincent, Mac McCain, Mario Goodrich, and Josh Blackwell. Mario McCain, I thought, might have had a chance, but then again, like I keep saying about some other guys, there could be some room for him on the practice squad. At the safety position, your incumbent starters are Marcus Epps and Anthony Harris. Kavon Wallace, the young guy from Clemson, who I think will be able to make that step this year. Josiah Scott, and the kid that I liked in preseason, Andre Shasher. I was thinking that he initially might have been pushed because of what the Eagles had there to the practice squad, but I think he'll make the active roster after those couple plays that I saw him make in the not the Miami game, but the second preseason game. I saw him make some plays that were football plays that saved touchdowns. Like, he didn't give up on the plays, he saved touchdowns. So I think that's why he got bumped up to that active roster. Out, somebody that started to look good, Reed Blankenship, and then a former starter, Jaquiski Tart, who may end up on the practice squad. If that's the case, he may just end up getting cut and go signing somewhere else because he is a veteran and a former starter. For special teams, you got Jake Elliott, no questions there. Punter, Aaron Sipas, no question there. Long snapper, Vic Lovato, no questions there. Injured players unable on the PUP list, Tyree Jackson and Brett Toth. And now we get to the practice squad finally. These are the names that will arguably be on the practice squad. And these are 16 names. And some of the names I've given to you that I thought would end up here. Quarterback, Reed Sinnett. Running back, Jason Hunley. Running back, Kennedy Brooks. Wide receiver, Deion Kane. Wide receiver, John Hightower. Wide receiver, Britton Covey. Tight end, Noah Togiai. Offensive tackle, LaRaven Clark. Offensive lineman, Coyote Owasika. Defensive tackle, Marvin Wilson. Linebacker, Jacoby Stevens. Linebacker, Christian Ellis. Cornerback, Kerry Vincent Jr. and quarterback, Tay Gowan. Cornerback, Mac McCain. And safety, Reed Blankenship. And then there's one exemption, would be defensive end, Matt Leo. So, folks, I think the Eagles have some potential to have a pretty decent, pretty solid lineup, if you will, moving into this 22. Hey, Miss Hines, thanks for tuning in, beautiful. This new season upcoming. And again, like I said to people, I've always said that the defense typically is the team that carries. Good morning and blessings to you, Coach Stan. Thanks for tuning in. I've always stated that the Eagles' defense has been pretty much, in my opinion, the staple of this team. That's who they are. Until last year when they established the running game like they did and became also noted as a running team for that season. And I'm hoping that that carries over into this season. But I've also always stated that the defense kept them in a lot of games. Defense won quite a few games for them. The defense, in my opinion, was always solid. I think the offense, now that they have the tools at the disposal for Jalen Hurts, I think they can do some more things with that. Like you see how the skill positions that they have are all veterans, and all of them have been arguably, except for like AJ Brown and Zach Pascal, most of them have been in the system already. So it's just picking up and enhancing on what we already known and tweaking things a little bit. Now you have a situation where you look at Jalen Hurts and he's beginning to throw a little bit better. He has weapons that will help him in that right now too. Again, bringing in an AJ Brown is going to make things a little bit easier for Devontae Smith. So you, in essence, you've got, like I mentioned, you've got two number one wide receivers, in my opinion, on either side of the line. You got AJ Brown, definitely, and Devontae Smith, who was our number one last year, who could easily be a number one, but he's definitely growing into that. You see, he's put in the work, he's put on some muscle, he's gained some weight, so he's prepared for this. And top 5 in the league tight end in Dallas Goedert, top running back in Miles Sanders. Boston Scott, solid. Kenneth Gainwell came in and did what they expected out of him last year with the skill set that he has as a receiver coming out of the backfield. So it's some cohesion there already. You just kind of like got to fill A.J. Brown in, and I don't think that's going to be very difficult because of the type of player that A.J. Brown is. I think he'll fit in just fine. So, again, like I mentioned, a lot of it is going to fall on Jalen Hurts. One, because he's the quarterback, and two, people are looking for him to make some steps now that he has some weapons around him and some things at his disposal. But I always said that the defense was there, and the defense has gotten better. People might not admit to it or understand it, but the defense has gotten better. They made some improvements at linebacker, bringing in the hometown kid in Hassan Reddick, also signing in free agency Kaiser Wright. TJ Edwards has improved. You look at the secondary, solid Epps and Harris. And now you've got, like I said, which we haven't had in a while, two legit number one cornerbacks in Darius Slay and James Bradbury. So they made the improvements where they needed to. They arguably found their replacement for Jason Kelce on that offensive line to keep this flow going, and it's good that they have Jason Kelce now, and Cam Jurgens can learn from him and hopefully step right in. You also plugged in some extra help on that defensive line with the behemoth of a man of Jordan Davis from Georgia. And then you also helped yourself on the linebacker side with the other kid from Georgia, Nakobe Dean. So I think the Eagles are setting themselves up in line to win this division. I think they will win the division. I think they can win the division. As far as the playoffs comes, I'll have to go through some of the season before I say anything about the playoffs now, because we know it's a long way off. You know, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So I'll have to get a grasp of some things as the season progresses to see. But I can say right now, that's one thing I can say confident, that I feel like they will win the division over the Cowboys, over Washington, and over the New York Giants, because we know what those guys are. We know, like, I think the toughest competition again is arguably going to be the Cowboys because of where they are. Then you would have Washington, and then I think the Giants will be, or what might be a fight because of that Carson Wentz situation. And sometimes he'll play and sometimes he won't. Not as far as physically playing, but I meant sometimes he'll perform and sometimes he won't. So I think their season will be up and down. And although there are some weapons there, I just think that for him and his history, there are going to be games when he's not going to perform to where people might expect him to perform. With that being said, folks, it is now 11:30. When I come back, I'm going to get into another story talking about one Trey Lance. Now, Baldy will probably agree with some of these things as a realistic 49ers fan. So I'm not, I'm going to preempt this and say I'm not coming at you guys. But Frank, you know, these are some of the things that I have mentioned, even as far back as when we talked about 49ers getting Jimmy G. So we're going to talk a little bit of Trey Lance and the 49ers in just a second. And I know it's weird that I'm talking 49ers, but my two partners are 49ers fans. So naturally, if they were here with me, we would be talking some 49ers stuff. But I'm going to go through this anyway, and talk about it a little bit. And again, I'm not bashing the 49ers. I'm just bringing some reality to some of the hyped up expectations and where the 49ers as an organization initially thought that they were going to go with this kid, but it just hasn't panned out as of yet, is all I'm saying. Stay tuned, folks. Stay with me. Sports Rap, taking a quick break. When I come back, we're going to talk that Trey Lance, and then we're going to get into some other stories that I got in line for you. Folks, you have been tuned into the Sports Rap Podcast right here on Heat 100 Radio. It's your boy. See you on the other side. Just a couple seconds.